Hello, today is Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. I'm Joe Schmidt from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. This is the second part of a two-part podcast series where we're providing some tips to help you deal with your network services deals during the global lockdown caused by COVID-19. I'm again joined by my TC2 colleagues, Larry York, who is TC2's Executive Director, and Tony Mangino, my fellow TC2 Director at TC2. Thanks, Tony and Larry, for joining me again.
Thanks, Joe. It's good to be back.
Great to be back, Joe. It's always good to speak with you and share what we're seeing and doing with our clients.
That's a good setup, Larry, for continuing our discussion from the last podcast. We left off with you describing how suppliers might introduce some, not too favorable changes in a network services deal to help clients with their immediate needs. Now, companies always need to be cautious with this stuff, but now I think more than ever. So, Tony, how are companies supposed to act quickly in the short term, but be smart about it?
Well, before you ask for anything, and whether that's a reduction in your commitment or a relief from payments in the short term or a big fat credit or even a not so big credit, you have to understand what the cost of that ask is going to be. Is it going to extend your deal for so long that your rates are out of market for 12, 18 months when you are committed to keep on buying? Will you pay many times over for the credit you get today by having to buy services at inflated rates or for a longer period of time than you otherwise would have? The trade-offs, are not so obvious when you're trying to make quick changes out of business necessity unless you have the ability to understand the financial implications over a longer term.
It's tough if you're the IT or procurement person that understands what you just said and how it works, but the CIO or some other big boss, they tell you what to do and you just have to get it done. Things do get lost in translation. Like that credit you mentioned, it might have a 36-month repayment period, effectively making your hard-fought term volume commitment less effective, unless you want to pay back 100% of your credit if you want to use the flexibility of that deal.
Yeah, for a first, I agree with both of you guys. Lots of companies need to take action right now, but that doesn't mean they can or should do it carelessly. You may think that not having much leverage and little time for negotiations means you have to give up a lot to get the short-term relief you need. It doesn't. Don't trade your flexibility by adding to your revenue or circuit commitment, by adding time to your term, by giving away the right to rate reviews. Following up on what Tony was saying, the medium to long-term cost of the credit will always outweigh the near-term benefit. Vendors always want to play the game because they always know how to rig it so they win. Also, like you and Andrew talked about, Joe, on the last podcast, be aware of the commercial clauses in your deal that allow you to reduce your financial commitments for business downturn events. Do rate reviews to reduce your cost if your deal has a rate review clause. The economic disruption is unsettling ICT suppliers also. They need to retain strategic accounts badly, and that can increase the likelihood of good outcomes for you if you approach your directed negotiations with a solid plan in mind and a focus on not giving up too much.
Okay, Tony, I'll give you the final word.
Thanks, Joe. I just want to add that, businesses shouldn't lose sight of transformational initiatives that drive cost savings, operational efficiency, and governance. These are things that they may have considered or even started before the pandemic began wreaking havoc. Those initiatives are more important than ever now.
All right, thanks, Tony, and thank you as well, Larry. The tips that you guys have provided on this and the previous podcast, they're really useful. Now, if you're finding you're in the position we described as a result of the pandemic, or you need to discuss other ICT requirements, please give Tony, Larry, me, or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues a call or shoot us an email. You can also listen to this and other COVID-19 related podcasts. You can stay current, or you can catch up on other ICT developments by subscribing to Staying Connected on Apple, Spotify, and many other podcast platforms. Finally, we're always posting new content, so check out our websites at TC2 and LB3, and please follow us on LinkedIn.